What did Jesus say about tithing? What are the types of tithing? Can I give my tithe to the poor instead of the church? First of all, what is tithing? It's a technical word. In the Old Testament, it is used to signify the contribution we make to God, to the temple, or for a public purpose. And what is a contribution? A contribution is something that you give freely. It's a voluntary one. It's an expression of your heart in gratitude to God for whatever has been done to you. God has given you life. God has given you perhaps things, business. God has given you money. And at the same time, there are some people or perhaps some causes which are much more needy than you. So therefore, you can contribute, you can give. In the book of the Old Testament, the book of Numbers, chapter 18, verse 26 speaks about tithing. And there it is said that every Jew will give a contribution to the Lord, which means about 1/10 of his proceeds. So every 10th part is given to God. It's a beautiful gesture because the Jews believed that the earth produced according to God's will. That was God's gift of God's blessings to them, and it was very natural that we give back to God at least 1/10 part to it. This is carried on also perhaps later on, and we have many quotations and many references of giving gifts or giving contribution to God or to the society, to the poor, etc. In the book of Maccabees, the author says that we have to give we have to collect some money and some resources and send it to those who are in need in other places, the sacrificial gifts and offerings. So also in the New Testament we find, in the temple where Jesus was there and many people are putting some coins, he sees that old widow who puts a coin into the box, and Jesus has much to comment about her, to say that she has put everything. She was perhaps giving a tithe or an offering to God in some way. We also see Jesus, sometimes his disciples, when we're there and someone comes and asks to pay taxes, and the disciples perhaps were a little offended that they should ask taxes from Jesus, and Jesus defends them and says surely the government also has to be provided with some contribution because they are running the place, they are providing things for us. And Jesus tells Peter to go and see the fish and to take out that coin that is there in the fish gull, as it were, and give it. And that beautiful saying that Jesus says, give to God what is God's and give to Caesar what is Caesar's. That is perhaps the contribution that we make. The side question is perhaps what are the different types of tithings? The word tithing is a technical word. I said it comes from the Old Testament. In the New Testament, it's offerings to God. We can give it to the temple, Old Testament, to the church. We can give to the poor. We can give for a good cause. And there are so many ways we can help the others. And the pointed question is, can I give the tithing to the poor instead of the church? Surely. Surely we can do it. When we say for the church, normally the church also doesn't mean that it's a building, it's a sort of a structure. The church means a community. So therefore, if you give to the church community as such, the community also has got an obligation for the poor, reaching out to the poor, and this one. So we say that this tithing, or this perhaps commandment, actually the 5th commandment of the church, says that you have to provide for the needs of the church and the poor. So therefore you can give your contribution. How much? I said in the Old Testament it was 1/10. Perhaps something of that nature, or a little more or a little less than that, should be voluntarily given to us. I'm not very good at fixing the rates as to you give this much only, you give this much only, because what we prescribe, maybe even if it's a small amount, it may be heavy for the poor,